What's going on, guys? Joe R. Vintage Pokemon is here, and today we got one heck of a special episode for you. We're going to be cracking, yes, that is cracking, this base set Japanese Charizard from its beautiful, lovely little Beckett case that we have here. As you can see, this is graded a BGS 9, and I got it for a really good deal on eBay. But I believe this card could grade higher, or at least I think it could grade potentially a PSA 9 or higher if done through PSA. So what I want to do is I'm going to actually take this card. A 9 in terms of BGS or Beckett usually has less value than a 9 from PSA. So we basically want this to get graded by the other company. And on the back of this card, we have what the subgrades are for it. So you can see it's a beautiful, looking at it, look at that shimmer, look at that gleam. Beautiful base set Japanese Charizard, and if we flip it over onto the back side, you see it's a very crisp, clean card. Edges and corners are basically near perfect, and if you look at the subgrades here are the subgrades. We've got 9, 9.5, 9.5, and then an 8.5 on surface. Now, scouring over the surface, I didn't see much wrong with this card. It looked really clean from my perspective. So I think this could grade a 9 on the side of PSA. It's kind of a shame that just the 8.5 kept this from being all around 9s or higher on the BGS Beckett side. But we're going to crack this, and I'm going to show you guys how I go about cracking this today myself. Or I'm going to show you how to royally mess up your Beckett BGS card and what not to do, because that is a possibility. Now I've cracked cards from PSA cases before, either for my binder collection. Only on one occasion have I resubmitted a card. I got a PSA 8 Dark Charmeleon Wizard Stamp promo back from a PSA submission, and it was not an 8, or at least I didn't believe it to be. It was so clean, so pristine, and I was really confused by it. So I cracked that out, and I actually sent it in with my second submission, and wouldn't you know it, it came back as a PSA 10. So PSA doesn't always get it right. I mean, you can argue that there must have been something that they saw, but I certainly didn't see it. There was no creases, no cracks, no bends. So this is one of those cases where I think maybe it would pay to send it in through PSA. If it gets an 8, then it's shame on me. But I didn't pay much for this, so it seems worthwhile to give it a shot and have some fun in the process, and maybe you guys will get something out of it too. So the tools that we're going to be using today for this expedition will be these bolt cutters. And really what we care about is this portion right here, because that's what we're going to use to try to snap that case, and we're going to be very careful about that. And once the case is snapped, we're going to be using this right here, nice flat-headed screwdriver, and we're going to break the case apart with this following up. And I've got actually another one here too. This one's a little bit wider head on front, so we'll see if we're going to need one or both of those in a second. So here's what we're going to do. Now, I believe there is space up here on the side with the label, because they have to get the label in there. I don't think there's really much in the way of space around here, so we're going to crack this corner. It's always better to crack in the corners. Basically, I'm doing this the same way I would a PSA case. We want to put our bolt cutter right about here. And what that's going to do is going to expose the label, and it's going to give us some space to fit our flathead screwdriver in. We obviously don't want to do this or one of these. We want to crack it where the card is the most out of the way as humanly possible, because we don't want the card, when we do this, to slide either partway out of the case and get crimped or get bent just by the weight of the case on its own. We want to be real careful. This is a Charizard, you know, horror stories about bending your Charizard. So we're going to be as careful as possible with this bad boy. So let's get to it, shall we? We're going to come right across here. I'm going to try to get as much of the corner in there as possible, just like that. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rip the Band-Aid off. I'm just going to squeeze real hard. I'm going to grip the case over here like this. And 3, 2, 1. Oh, that was fun. So let's see what we got. Bring it on back over. The card is still nicely intact there. You can see we definitely broke through to where the label is. And now this is where we're going to kind of set to work to try to get this case pried apart. If necessary, I will try to crack the corner a little further, but we're going to try to avoid that as much as possible. Let me adjust the camera here just for a second. Okay, and now I'm going to take a look at this myself. Okay, I'm going to see if I can get my... Okay, seems to be working nicely. Okay, got a decent amount in there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to rotate this a tiny bit. The card still looks nice and secure. Push in a little further. And now the case should lift away quite nicely when I apply just a little bit of torque to it as a clockwise or counterclockwise pressure. I'm going to spin clockwise on this thing. You can see it's splitting apart now. Card is still locked in the center there. It hasn't moved at all. I'm just splitting the case a little more. Being very careful here. And now I'm just going to apply a little upward pressure. Whoop! All right. So far, so good. The card doesn't appear to be damaged. It hasn't shifted position at all. It seems locked in there still just a little bit, but it's getting there. We haven't damaged it, at least I don't believe we have. So we're just going to apply a little more pressure here. I'm going to get this back under here one more time. There we go. There we go. Okay. And now I think I can actually get this the rest of the way by hand. Here's our label. Okay, I went flying everywhere. So we got the case off. We broke it. We broke through. And the nice thing is that when you crack a Beckett or BGS case, the card is already in a sleeve. So let's get that out nicely. And there we have it. Our Beckett BGS 9 Charizard. And looking at it, it looks pretty darn good. Not 100% sure what the problem was surface-wise. Maybe we'll take this bad boy, we'll press it between some glass just to make sure it's extra flat, and we might just send it on its way to PSA. So, I hope you guys enjoyed watching this video. We just got that card out beautifully. It looks like it did inside the case. No damage to the card. We got it out in one piece, and obviously this is probably a little easier if you're not focusing on keeping it in front of the camera the entire time, so you might have an even easier time than I did just now showing you this. But it all went according to plan. Got the card, looks great. We're going to send it on over to PSA, and you'll see that in the PSA submission video that we do a little ways down the road. So, we'll see you later. All right. Guys, this is Joe R. signing off. Take care. Bye-bye. See you around. And don't forget to like and subscribe.